When large jobs require moving massive amounts of snow, get the work done quickly and efficiently with the Western Pile Driver and all-new Pile Driver XL pusher plows, both featuring Trace Edge technology. These pushers scrape down to the pavement with an advanced cutting-edge system that has independent 2-foot sections that move vertically, oscillate, and trip. Get more jobs done faster with the Western Pile Driver lineup of pusher plows.
Mike Bott from Frost Solutions, one of the owners of the company. What we do is provide a mini weather station to give you a tailored forecast to those particular locations so you know where and when and what to do in those parts of town. You know there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different ways that people can experience tremendous value having a technology like this.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey with your host, Dave Westcott. The Entrepreneurial Journey is a weekly podcast that streams live every Tuesday at 9:15 a.m. Pacific on Dave's YouTube channel and LinkedIn profile. Now here's Dave with this week's episode.
Good morning and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm your host, Dave Westcott, and I've got with me Chase Harmon, special guest and area director of YoungLife. I've also got with me Pastor David Lundquist, and this is our monthly show where we focus on giving back to community. And on the entrepreneurial journey, as entrepreneurs, as you know, I'm a big believer in giving back and making the world a better place. Always some of my favorite episodes when we talk about how we change the world and how we impact local communities. Good morning, Chase. Can you share with us what YoungLife is and what it's all about?
Good morning. Well, YoungLife is one of the largest nonprofits in the world, especially when it comes to Christian nonprofits working with teenagers. It is international, so recently it just became bigger and internationally than it is in the United States. Although it started in the United States in 1941 with the founder Jim Rayburn.
That's awesome.
Chase, yeah. Good morning, Chase. Just tell us, tell us the history. I mean, it started in 1941, and now it's international. I mean, what kind of growth was that? And tell us about YoungLife. What do you guys do?
Yeah. So it all started in Texas, and before Jim, it was really started with a group of ladies that just had a passion for prayer that lived across a high school. And they just got together and they prayed for the kids at the high school. And Jim Rayburn was a seminary student, and he just had a vision for what it could look like to care for teenagers. And at that time, the word teenager wasn't like a fully defined thing. James Dean in his red coat, that movie didn't come out, Rebel Without a Cause. So yeah, I was still trying to define it. And Jim had this vision of what does it look like to reach those kids who maybe wouldn't go to church. So from that place, it grew, and it grew and it grew and grew. And some of the tenets of YoungLife of it's a sin to bore a kid with the gospel and earning the right to be heard. These things have gone on. Now we're, I think, in our 80s, well over our 80s, and still going really, really strong.
That's very cool.
A sin to bore a kid with the gospel. That's very interesting. Walk us through that.
Well, kids have a shorter attention span, and a lot of times adults want to get on their soapbox and talk. But in reality, kids want to share as well. Kids want to participate. Kids want something that's relevant to their life. There's a phrase in YoungLife, kids don't care what you know unless they know how much you care. And so it's a sin to bore the kids with the gospel. How could we show the amazing person and power of Jesus in a way that kids can get it?
That's good. Awesome. So, Chase, how did you get involved with YoungLife, and what's your history?
I wouldn't say I grew up in a very Christian family. My mom took us to Catholic Mass, but I didn't really love it. I have respect now for the Catholic tradition, but it wasn't until I was invited to Young Life as a 12-year-old that I didn't understand that God cares about a personal relationship with me. And that was really shown by the Young Life leaders in my life that cared about me, that picked up breadsticks for me instead of pizza because I didn't like the pizza that they got, or always invited me over to their house. Yeah, those people have had an impact on my life and still have an impact on my life in amazing ways.
So you went, I mean, what happened? I mean, how did you become then a leader? I mean, you were, part of Young Life, but, how did leadership start and how did you get involved, as a career?
Yeah, I think the way that I was included as a middle schooler in like a very key time in my life where I was lonely and family life was a little bit in turmoil. My mom got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer when I was in 7th grade, and that was really difficult. To have a place to go over to my Young Life leaders' homes was such an oasis for me. When my mom passed away when I was a freshman in high school, immediately when I found out, the first place I went to was Ed and Lori Winkle's house, my Young Life leader's house. And just being to be able to be surrounded by them, it meant a lot. So because I really got to have that community in my life to like mourn well and just be surrounded by that, it was really impactful for me. So it's like, I would, as a junior in high school, I wanted to be a leader. So I've been a leader for 15 plus years now, which seems wild, but worth it.
Wow. So you said your mom passed away when you were in junior high.
Yeah, freshman year in high school.
Freshman year, that's hardcore. That's hardcore. I've heard many stories of people whose, parents believe in God, whether Catholic or Christian or whatever, and they lose a parent and accident, and then the rest of it, they say, how can a loving God take my parent who was, perfect in their eyes? How does God do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's one of the hardest.
Lost a parent.
Yeah. That's one of the hardest questions in Christianity. There's a term for that theologically called theodicies. And there's different ways to explain how loving God can do that, can allow bad things to happen. One of the things, can you guys hear me okay? That was good. One of the things that really made a difference in my life was reading Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. And in that, there was like there's a moment where Lazarus's friends and family were mourning for that. And Jesus, the shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. That was really comforting for me when I was in high school, because it showed that Jesus probably knew he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead, but it was because of the people around him who were emotional that he also got emotional. And so during that time of hardship, I really felt, partly through my Young Life leaders and partly through my church, but I felt like God's embrace come around me. I felt God's compassion. And so it wasn't, this is what I'm doing to you. It's like, this happened, but I'm with you.
That's really powerful. That's really a powerful thing. Was your dad still in the picture, or was it just you? And okay, so
yeah, my dad. So yeah, we're a family of 4. My sister was a senior of high school.
For grounding.
She graduated really soon after, and my dad, always around. He got another girlfriend about a couple months later, and yeah, I'm still with her today, which is great. But yeah, they processed it very differently than I did.
Chase, thank you for sharing that, what you went through, and the explanation that you gave about, Jesus wept.
Mhm.
Tough circumstances. I couldn't imagine it. I know I had a brother pass away, and I know for my dad, that was the first time I had ever seen my dad cry in my entire
Mm.
life. And I don't even think it was a real cry. I think it was like a tear. And I think that's the only emotion that I've ever seen out of him in my entire life
Mm.
like that. So just making it through that and still staying firm in the Lord. I mean, to me, that feels like a miracle because, like I said, I can't think of another person that I've ever met who has stayed in Christianity, in faith, when they've had a hard loss like that. How are you helping other kids today deal with tragedy and deal with serious loss like that?
Mm. That's a great question. I love in the book of Job, Job's friends, um, they eventually, start telling him what to do and start giving him phrases. But one of the key verses that I really have come to love is um, Job's friends were silent with him and were just near Job. Um, and so many of the times, people that are going through hard things, they mourn in different ways, but people need community. And what does it look like to be a anxious presence just around people that are going through hard times? And eventually they're going to want to talk about it. But what does it mean to be quiet? And sometimes we want to talk so much, but in reality, we just need to listen.
That's kind of what those young life leaders sounds like they did for you. They just created a safe place,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of a place for you, just a refuge in a sense. It's
Yeah.
probably one of the best ways you can say it. And when people go through tragedy, a refuge, maybe sometimes even out of context, like outside the home where they can go to, like you, a young life leader's home,
Mm-hmm.
without all of the memories and just be,
Yeah.
um, that's super important.
Really
Yeah,
important.
yeah. Hey, Chase, so you've been involved with Young Life now 15 years. I heard you were also in Europe. Tell us a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, how did you get there and what did that look like?
Yeah. Got back 2 months ago from Munich, Germany, which is in southern Germany called Bavaria. One of the best souvenirs we took is our 1.5-year-old son. He was born in a German hospital, which was a whole nother adventure. But before the pandemic happened, my wife and I were kind of discerning what was next. We were in the Pacific Northwest in Issaquah, and we were looking at the different job websites, and nothing was super apparent. But we saw international that Munich International Schools is posted, and we said, "Oh, that would be fun one day, when we're older, or like our kids have grown, or something like that." But my wife Meg came to me in the kitchen one day and said, "You know what, Chase? You should apply for that job. And here's why." And she listed off like 3, 4, 5 super good reasons. And my wife isn't super demonstrative. So whenever she speaks up like that, I've learned to really listen. So we decided to say yes to the process. And then COVID hit. And so we had just a lot of time just to focus on what we wanted in the next season and what God was leading us to. We decided to say yes, and we went on the fundraising effort, and people were very generous, and we were able to go to Munich, Germany. And we just got back 2 months ago. For 3.5 years, we were there.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you see God move over there? What's happening in Germany? How are kids affected? I only asked that because I was watching some videos of kids in Germany, and there's this video, and it shows like one kid's like pretending to be some kind of animal, and another kid has a leash around it, and they're like walking these kids down the street, and they're like, I don't know,
Oh.
pretending to be other kids, and it's saying, look at what's happening to the youth in Germany. And so like
that's the view of the youth in Germany that I have, only because that's the only videos I've seen on the news of kids in Germany.
Yeah.
So I don't know how realistic that is or how off that is, or maybe they're just like kids in the US.
Yeah, I didn't quite see that image, but yeah, there's a lot of similarities in the U.S. I love what Chap Clark says about kids. Like all teenagers, I think, regardless of where you're at, I'll try to are trying to find a place to belong. They're at a place where they're trying to seek out like autonomy from, their parental figures and trying to figure out their identity. And so I think that's universal: identity, belonging, and autonomy. So kids in Germany are similar. They're maybe asking different questions. They're maybe TikTok, social media things are changed, but they're able to go to the clubs and drink beer at 16. So there's a lot of different things going on there. But kids are kids, and they need adults that care about them, that are willing to listen and willing to pour into them.
So they're exposed to the world much earlier than kids here, because I mean, if you're going to the clubs and you're 16, that means there's more promiscuity, there's more probably teenage birth, there's more, I mean, right? Because I mean, that's, if you have access that young, maybe it makes it a little different.
Yeah, there's a good debate. It's an open question. For on one hand, teenagers over here, they don't necessarily know how to temper, especially alcohol, and so when they do drink, it's usually a binge drink to really get drunk. But kids, because it's just more of the culture over there, they might have a little bit more. They know themselves. They know what they can handle a little bit more, and so it's not necessarily as maybe destructive. Cars, teenagers don't have cars as much as in the United States. So like drunk driving is significantly lower in that too. So there's trade-offs for everything that you do. But I think that German, especially teenagers, just have a different set of questions than people in the United States do.
Case, tell us a little bit about just, what do you do? What's your program? How do you reach kids? Do you do it alone, or do you have a team? All of those kind of just practical ways of reaching that generation.
Yeah. So YoungLife, it's kind of is a little bit different than like a church youth group, because the way that I like to say it is, instead of the kids coming to the church, YoungLife really emphasizes the church going to the kids and entering into the world of teenagers. So we get that from Jesus being incarnational. In the message, it says Jesus is moving into the neighborhood, coming on earth. And so we, as YoungLife leaders, go to where kids are at. And that's something that we call contact work. So YoungLife staff and volunteer leaders that have said yes to caring about teenagers, go to meet kids on their own turf. Like I said before, earn the right to be heard. So that's one of the pillars, is contact work. And then we have to have something to invite them to eventually. So we have our next thing that I was invited to when I was 12 years old. It's called Club. And Club is a party with a purpose. It's something that there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of games, sometimes singing. There's a raffle. But at the end, there's a talk about the person and power of Jesus, 10, 15 minutes long. And that is a really, really cool opportunity to get to hear just how amazing it can be to live as a Christian. We have something called camps in YoungLife. Camps are kind of branded as the best week of your life. It is really the Rolls Royce of Christian camping. YoungLife camps are known to be to hold no expense and to just be magnificent. So after kids get to go to camp and club, we also have something called campaigners, which campaigners is a small group. It's essentially a small group where we get together and we get to go a little bit deeper. We get to share a little bit more vulnerably, and we get to really help disciple these kids a little bit more.
Well, very cool.
Mhm.
So not that we want you to unwrap any presents, but what happens at camp? Like, I mean, if it's like the best camp, no expense, like what's happening there? That sounds pretty awesome. Do they have the adult version?
Well, you can be a young life leader and do that. And get to experience it. I think camp is just a really incredible thing because kids, there's so many things around kids that keeps kids from being kids. In camp, yeah, it has all the bells and whistles. Some camps have boats. There's zip lines. There's the ability to go off into water slides. There's like a water park in Central Oregon. But really, when it comes down to it, kids aren't distracted with their cell phones. Kids get just to be in community, and they just get to be kids. And there's drama and there's stuff that comes out in camp that are hard and difficult. But at the end of the day, you just get to see kids come alive. That's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe all their like defenses are down, and they just get to enjoy life.
So Northwest, I know up in this area, the kids go to Malibu,
Yes.
which is a big camp. So tell us a little bit about Malibu and why is that so cool?
Yeah, Malibu was acquired, I think, in 1953, and it was a resort for the rich and famous. It's 100 miles north of Vancouver in Princess Louisa Inlet. So it's like a pretty remote place. Only way to get to it is by boat or seaplane. But Young Life was able to like acquire the property, and so it's built out of wood in the middle of nowhere with on like the sea, and then there's immediate mountains that jump up from the sea, so it almost looks like a fjord in Scandinavia there. It's an incredible spot. Takes a while to get there, but yeah, a lot of people call Malibu a thin place, meaning that heaven doesn't seem too far off when people are at that location.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So what's upcoming for Young Life? What are you guys working on now? What's in the future? How can our audience support you?
Yeah, great question. So Young Life is kind of divided up into different areas. And so my area that I just moved into 2 months ago is the Mukilteo area. So Mukilteo School District, we have Kamiak High School, Mariner High School, but there's also an Everett one. There's also all throughout the North Puget Sound, there's different chapters or franchises, I guess you'd call them. We just call them areas. But yeah, we're just looking for adults that just care about kids, that have a heart for God and have a heart to reach teenagers. And that can look like in a lot of different capacities. They can be Young Life leaders, they can be boots on the ground, and they can really try to pour in and invest in kids. But if that's not something that people want to do, there's also a ton of other options. If you're into finance, you can help with like the donor care aspect and the budget. If you care for the leaders, there's leader care that you can try to pour into the leaders that care for your kids. If you're into prayer, there's prayer groups. And I want to make like a feed 'em team. Like, what does it look like for whenever we have an event just to feed kids, especially under-resourced kids that might not have food? What does it mean to like have food, good food at events? So there's a lot of different ways people can get involved. And basically it's just, how can we invite people in to have a missional community that cares for their kids in their community?
Awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome. What's the like, is there anything that sticks out in your mind as far as a great transformational story that you've seen come out of Young Life, or anything you can share with us there?
Yeah, I mean, my own is huge, but yeah, in every location I've been to, we've had kids that have had a significant impact. One of my favorite was Trace, who actually came to Young Life Club because he wanted to ask a girl that went to Young Life to homecoming. But he had no idea what Young Life was. He just knew that she was going to be there. But we set it up so he was the guy that won the game. And so we gave him like the mic. We're like, congratulations. Is there anything you would want to say? And that's when he asked the girl to homecoming. She said yes. They had a good time, but he was hooked after that. He couldn't say no to an event, and he kept on coming. And he just got to hear about the transformational story of Jesus. He didn't come from a Christian family at all, but he ended up going to camp with us and just had a blast. And then one of the cool things in the one-on-one, he said, Chase, I didn't need to come to camp to hear about God's love for me, because you showed it throughout the whole week. No, throughout the whole school year. Throughout the whole school year, I got to see it. And like, I didn't prompt him, but he said that. And I was like, oh man, that's how you know we're doing a good job.
Yeah, that's amazing. And based on your experience and everything that you went through, losing your mom, all of that, have you basically been a young lifer for life since that impact? Has that basically been there?
Well, Young Life is great, awesome organization, super stoked to work for it. But it is built by man, and so sometimes things aren't perfect. So I think one of the things that's been helpful for me is to know that I have a vocational credo that I try to embody, and Young Life for right now fits into that vocation really, really well for me.
Awesome. Pastor Dave, any final thoughts as we bring this in for a close?
No, just Chase, how can we and viewers, how can they assist you? How can they come alongside? What are some of the things that you guys need as you are here in the Mukilteo area, Everett area?
Yeah. Like I said, the adults that care, but also, I mean, if you feel called and there is a financial aspect where we can't do this alone. It costs money to take kids out for coffee. It costs money to bring them pizza. It costs money for staff people to be in the area. So if you are tied to a local area and feel that you want to find out more, I'd say reach out to whoever is in your area. In Mukilteo, it's me. I think in Everett, it's Jimmy Reed. And just ask for a phone call or get together for a coffee. I know we'd love to follow up, but I think those are really important things to be about.
That's awesome. Dave, can we set up a donation, a matching donation through the mBridge website for them?
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be on the website. We will have a text to give, as well as you can go to mBridge.global, and it'll be on there as well, where all of the donations, 100% of the donations will go to Young Life. So yeah, would love that.
And
Thanks,
we'll
guys.
match up to $1,000 for the next 2 weeks?
Sure. Sounds great.
Yeah,
That's
let's
incredible.
do it. Well, we love what you're doing. You're doing a phenomenal job. Your story is incredible, just an absolute miracle. That is uplifting and a blessing for me today. Chase, any final thoughts for the audience as we bring this in for a close?
Yeah. There's a guy named Josh Shipp. He's on YouTube. He came from an adoption company. But one of the key phrases that he uses is every kid is one caring adult away from being a success story. It only takes just one caring adult. And I don't know who's listening to this, but if you know a teenager, you don't have to be a Young Life leader to reach out to them. Just takes someone that cares. And so that's my encouragement to whoever's listening. Reach out. I know it could be awkward or uncomfortable at first, but I promise you, if you listen well, you lean in, you will also be blessed. The kid will be blessed.
Yeah, that's
and you
beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that. Every kid is one caring adult away from a success story. That's absolutely incredible. Are you on social media? Can anybody in the audience follow you there?
Yes, but I'm a little agnostic to social media. So email, or you can reach out to me on Facebook, Chase Harmon, but I'll get back to you. But I'm not an influencer by any means.
You're more on the send me an email and I'll get in touch with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. What is your email for the audience out there?
It's Chase R Harmon, HARMON @gmail.com. Chaser Harmon.
All right, that's awesome. Chaser Harmon, I like it. All right, this has been the Entrepreneurial. This has been a fantastic show. We're back every Tuesday, 9:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm Dave Westcott, your host. Follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere it's social. We're hanging out. If you like the show, give us a like, give us a share, drop the comments in the comment box, and we'll get back to you. Do yourself a favor and help us change the world and donate to this incredible organization, YoungLife. And for the next couple of weeks, we're going to match everything that comes in up to $1,000 to donate to this Mukilteo chapter of YoungLife. Guys, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks, Dave.
Mike Bott from Frost Solutions, one of the owners of the company. What we do is provide a mini weather station to give you a tailored forecast to those particular locations so you know where and when and what to do in those parts of town. You know there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different ways that people can experience tremendous value having a technology like this.
Introducing the all-new Western Enforcer V-Plow. Engineered with all the features, efficiency, and performance of full-size Western V-Plows, built specifically for your half-ton truck. For more information, visit westernplows.com.